How do I start this thing?
Have you plugged the bloody USB in?
Yeah, it's in.
Nah, man, that's the wrong port. Oh, wait, it's flashing now.
It's recording.
Well, let's start this thing, fool.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amelia.
Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to Ask the Duo podcast, a podcast where we get deep into those late-night, unfiltered conversations.
We'll be discussing all things lifestyle, relationship, mindset, and more.
All right, let's get to it.
Hello, and we're back.
Hello.
Hello.
We have Anita here still, and for those who haven't checked out her first episode with us on hustling as a woman in banking and finance, she is Sam's sister, and this one we're going to talk about family and keeping them close. So I really wanted to ask you guys this because I can see the dynamics in your family for the both of you, and you guys definitely operate a lot different to like what a typical Asian family culture would be like, and I've really appreciated that. So I'll just ask a little bit around that and your thoughts and values around keeping your family close.
All right.
So as most Asians growing up can relate, like being close with your family and your parents is not really a thing. Like a lot of people would typically say like, I don't talk to my parents about personal things and stuff like that. So was it always like that for you both, or was it something that you had to build up over time and just get out of your comfort zone and start talking to them about personal life and updates?
For our family, we're a very small family, right? So when we sort of grew up, like our parents will talk to us about certain things sometimes, but just even between Sam and I, we talk all the time. And I think it's really important to encourage that in a family because, I mean, I talk to my mum every day.
Yeah.
Even now, and I think it's really important to always check in with each other, and I think that's what we've always had in our family.
Even when you were young and stuff, your mum was
absolutely
always talking to you.
Yeah, she'd talk to me. She probably wouldn't talk to me deep and meaningful as I would now. I think the older you get, you tend to sort of open yourself up a bit more, and I think for me, like we've always been very close.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think my experiences, I feel that in the earlier days, we probably weren't, like, not saying me and Anita, my sister, I'm not saying that we weren't close, but the parents definitely noticed that in the earlier days, parents weren't as close. They were still talking to us, but not on a deeper level that we are now.
Yeah.
Like, I could pull mum and talk to her about my stuff or whatever I want to talk about on a real deep level.
Yeah.
And she's understanding. Whereas I feel that if we were to do that back then, I don't think they could comprehend the conversation and maybe not understand where we are coming from.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I do wish that we did attempt to do those conversations back then just to see what it was like, just because I'm curious.
So what kind of inspired you guys to open up more to your parents?
Well, I guess for me personally, I mean, Sam and I, we're 9 years apart, right? So from an age perspective, I have had attempts to talk to my parents back then, only because I was older. Especially when my dad was around, I could talk to him about anything. I could talk to him about, my work struggles, my university struggles, things that I'm sort of trying to deal with. And my dad was very open. My dad was very much, maybe you should think about this, maybe you should think about that. But that was because I have a much stronger relationship with my dad because I was a little bit older. Whereas Sam, who was much younger at the time, he probably wasn't mature to have those conversations with my dad and my mum. So I think it was at different levels. I was lucky enough to be able to have that conversation with my dad, and I think it just developed over time for me.
No, that's really good. What about you? Like, what inspired you to try and open up more?
Yeah, so 100% in terms of what my sister was saying. I feel that back then I was definitely immature. Fucking 100%. Like I look back at myself and I want to punch myself in the fucking face.
Anita's
would've
like
punched him.
nodding 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Like even I look back and I'm like, I was the biggest fucktard. Like
He was,
100%,
guys.
dude.
Honestly, he was.
Like
Yeah, putting boogers on the wall. That's
Oh
one
no!
good example.
There's also one thing he used to do to me stresses me out. He used to go off on his skateboard or his
Yeah.
bike,
Oh, yeah.
and he will go for hours.
Yeah.
And my parents would call me and be like, "Oh, when are you coming home?" I'm thinking, "What do you mean? I'm at uni. I'm coming home now." And he's like, "Your brother's gone missing. You got to go find him." And I used to drive through every street of Carindale because we were building a house at the
That's so
time,
funny.
and we rented this place at Carindale. And I used to drive through every single, went around circles looking for him. Most stressful time of my life, and I'd be like, "Get in the car, you little shit!"
yeah, it's
Get
pretty
like
funny.
one of those megaphones. Like, what?
Nah, I hear her drive and she's like, "Oi, shithead!" Get
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Actually, I did that once. Like me and my brother, because back then in the 90s, all you could really do is go to the park, right?
Yeah.
So me and my brother, we go to the park because we were kids where we always had to do homework, always had to study. So like when we get to actually go out, we'd go out.
Yeah.
And we stayed at the park and it was like nighttime. And I don't think we noticed because we were like kids.
You're playing
And
there.
then like my stepmom would be like, she popped out of nowhere while we're like having so much fun. Probably like 5 hours has passed. She's like, "What the hell are you guys doing? Get back here. It's time for dinner." We're like, "Oh shit, we're in trouble."
Yeah, run.
Yeah, so I can relate to that though.
Yeah.
I'll just tee off what my sister said. So I obviously knowing that you had the chance to talk to Dad on a deeper level,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the biggest things that I wish that I had
Yeah.
was to pick his brain.
Yeah.
Mm.
Obviously, maturity level was the issue, obviously, but that was one of my biggest things. As I said, I wish that I could sit down and actually have a conversation with him outside from the basic conversation.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, because I hear so many stories about Dad from like my family friends, you know, the guys that I ride or die with them. You know, they tell me about stories of Dad
Yes.
and like
yes.
their dad riding with my dad and that sort of shit.
Yeah.
So understanding what he was like from a third person's perspective, it makes me wonder, shit, what was it like or what it could be like if I could sit down and sit with him and talk to him.
Yeah. So did you want to explain a little bit to the listeners about what happened, like with your dad and stuff?
Okay, so our dad passed away 2009.
Yeah, so he had cancer in the stomach. He basically had the operation and then chemo after that, and then 2 years later it basically came back and it spread throughout his entire body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very sorry to hear though.
Yeah, so 51.
Yeah, young.
Very, very young.
He's a young buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
he just retired too, so he was, looking forward to retirement and everything else. And yeah, I was pregnant with Jasmine at the time.
yeah, that would have been hard too.
Very hard.
Juggling all that and taking him in and out of the hospital and
Yep.
juggling this little guy over here.
Yeah.
oh, look, and even from my perspective, I was 18, 19. So I obviously was going through my own battles as a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously trying to comprehend my situation as well as Dad's situation was very difficult. And I think the difficult part was seeing Mum's side.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
Mum always spent time with Dad all the time.
Yeah,
She
like
never
they're
did.
always together,
Yeah.
went out together.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was like the ride or die mum kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
she was like, yeah, I'll do whatever you do. Let's do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
So seeing Mum going from that situation to something that's like, okay, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, now she's just on her own, independent. Or
That
has to
was-
learn to be independent.
Yeah. And that was the hardest situation because it was just because I live with Mum still. So seeing Mum go through shit
Yep.
every day was fucking eye opening because it's just like, she's not the same.
So do you think that this situation is what also brought you guys even closer together?
I think so.
I think so too, yeah. Yeah. So for me personally, I see a lot of my dad in my bro. And I think everything that he sort of does and, you know, the way he sort of manages his life and things like that is very much reminds me of my dad. And I think because of that, I feel my mum feels the same way in terms of, you know, like my dad was my mum's life.
Yeah.
She knew nothing else. You know, she had to go from living on her own to making decisions on her own, and she couldn't make decisions on her own. And I think I took my mum and my bro in for 2 years as well, so they lived with me.
Yeah.
And just sort of giving them that opportunity to really reevaluate their entire life and how they sort of want to live their life as well. That was hard for me. That was hard for me to watch both of them go
and
through.
And growing your family
and
too.
growing my family and having a career and, you know, money-wise, have to pay the bills. So, like, it was a tough time. It really was.
How did you navigate through that kind of challenging time?
Look, I think it really helped the fact that I can talk to my brother and I can talk to my mum.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just second nature to me.
Yeah.
And we've always been brought up on the fact that family is always comes first.
Yeah, that's what I really
happens.
appreciate about your family, because that's completely opposite
100%,
of ours. Yeah.
100%. Like, we will drop everything to be like, what do you need?
Yeah, no, that's really good. And even at our wedding, when you were just saying, like, everyone here, we're all family, and if you need, just reach out. Like, that was, to me, that was, like, really special, like, because I've never heard that in our family. So that's what I really appreciate about you guys. So from typical Asian values, it's more like discipline, hard work, frugality, and, like, high achievement. What do you say in your family? What's your core values that you guys hold the most?
No, over to you, mate.
Okay.
The biggest sister first.
This guy. Gee, just because I'm the eldest. All right. So I think the biggest thing for me that Dad taught both of us while growing up is you can't get anywhere without hard work. And that's in anything.
Yeah.
That's your career, it's your family, your marriage, you know, relationships with your brother and sister.
You just have to put in the work.
You have to put in the hard work. So I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to be like, my brother hasn't called me for like a month. Fuck him, I'm not going to call him, right? You know, it's not like that. It's, oi, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
I have this on my mind and I need to talk to you about it.
That's really good though.
And I think that's really, really important. Dad's always done that to us and his friends around him. He helps people. You know, it's no matter how big or small the problem is, money is money, right? We make money to spend money.
Yeah.
And that's his mentality. That's his, and I actually really appreciate that life lesson that he's taught me.
Yeah.
Is, you know, no matter what happens, don't put your mother in a nursing home. He always says to me, you take care of her and you know, you need to do this and you need to do that. It's the right thing to do. And I think that became the foundation of our family. And it's evident, like when you've come into our family and when my husband comes into the family, exactly the same. You know, we lift each other up, we support each other, no matter how low or, you know, no matter how hard you fall on the ground. That's what my dad's always taught us.
Yeah, share every moment together.
You share the load, because it's not just, you know, you and me. It's, no, we're a family and we face it together.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think he'd definitely be proud that you guys are actually still keeping that as a core value as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what Mum always says. Every time she comes out, oh, you know, Dad will be, you know, proud of you. And she'll like pat me in the back.
Squeeze your arm, squeeze your muscle. Oh, muscle too bigger.
Yeah, she squeezes my arm and she's like, what? But no, from my perspective, look, I was probably too immature or too young probably to really like understand, as I said, you know, what was going on. But what I take from the earlier times of, you know, being around Dad and Mum, it's, you know, what my sister said exactly. It's like, you know, families first, and you keep your best mates close to you because you need people.
Absolutely.
And one of the biggest things that he taught me was if you ever get into fights and stuff like that,
Here we go.
you always ride with your boys.
Yeah.
And always have them there, because you can't trust people nowadays, because shit can happen at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that I've also learned from you guys, or you especially, is that you really do lean on your friends. Like, if you need something, you actually reach out. Whereas my mentality is, no, I do everything alone. I don't reach out to anyone because I don't trust anyone. I can't lean on anyone. So I think I saw that and I'm like, wow, you can actually lean on people that you know. Yeah. And like, it's not about the friends, or I don't trust the friends. It's just that I don't trust, I don't know, something about it is just like I don't want to reach out, and like I just need to stick with it by myself. So I think that's really good that you are able to lean on other people.
Yeah, 100%. And look, it's hard to find people, right? And that takes time, because when it comes to a point where you find someone, they stick to you like glue. Because, you know, if their mentality, their walks of life is on a similar pathway, then they know exactly where you're riding as well. So it's you just need that that friendship where you can just call and be like, yo, dude, I need backup. Let's go.
Yeah, and I really appreciate how, like, you guys essentially redefined what family actually means for me, because like I would see family as in like your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, but you guys consider your closest friends as family as well. Yeah,
100%. I think my perspective on that is because Dad was a refugee. So he came to Australia when he was about 18, and he used to tell me the story of coming on this massive boat. Hundreds of people on it, and he only had the clothes that he was wearing. So he had to rely on people that weren't family, who became his family.
Yep.
And he's always taught me that people deserve second chances, and it's really important to take care of each other, because that's what the underlying rule is, isn't it? Because if you take care of someone, someone will take care of you. So it's okay to have trust issues, but you need to develop on that.
Yeah.
And you need to learn. And it's a hard thing to do. It really is. But just sort of hearing his story and how inspired I was that he was able to do that, because it's such a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
Pick up the newspaper and learn a completely different language.
Yeah.
And embrace the Aussie, culture. Like, that's what my dad was.
Yeah. Gotta be an open book and just a sponge and absorb everything.
Yeah, and share your culture and make sure where your heritage is from. But then also, encourage us to learn and to have an education that, maybe I wouldn't have had if we were back in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So it's it's inspiring to know that, and it sort of builds that core for your family. And when you guys eventually have a family, you can then instill that into your little ones as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah, continue to grow that legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I just know the family legacy or stories from other people, right? So first and foremost, to know that other people know your dad and talk about your dad on a high level, that's tells you enough.
Yeah, and it's inspiring to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when, you're with your friends and then their parents come to you and talk to you about your dad. And you're like, shit.
That's cool. That's like
hear.
a whole new way of learning about your dad too.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like, the amount of people that Dad knew and developed just from the whole refugee side of things, far out, man. Like, I did not know how many people he knew.
And how many people he helped.
Yeah. And look, and to give you a random fact, I dated a chick and her parents knew Dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell, man? And they were at Dad's funeral and I was like, holy shit.
Yep. Even the baker down the road came to his funeral.
That's really cool. Like, he's definitely, you know, built a really good community around
Yeah, he has.
everyone in the Asian community.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, for yourself, why is it important to keep your family close?
Okay, so look, outside of friends, family is probably the number one thing to keep because,
Absolutely.
and it's not just like you said, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father. It's like your best friend, man. And to have the ability to have conversations on a deeper level with your sibling is huge. It's meaningful because, yeah, you may have come up from a same, you know, family, whatever it is, but your sister, your brother's walk of life is always going to be different. So their experiences are going to be different. And to be able to sit here and have this conversation, they can talk to you and give you advice or whatever it is that you wanted to talk to. I think, you know, even with close friends that you can deem as family, you need that. You need to have people around you or surround yourself around a network where you can talk to people. You can, you know, pick their brain. You can have fun with them, build the experiences in life with them. That's one of the biggest things that we overlook in life in general is experience. Experience is what makes life.
Yeah, and it's nothing
You know?
that you can buy. Like, experience is experience. Like, you can make as much money as you want, but you don't use that time to build experiences, build relationships and stuff like that. It's, you're like, you know, you're not going to be able to buy that at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why I always say, like, yeah, we, like me and my friends, we may not see each other that much, but when we do, it's an experience.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
have fun. You have, you know what I mean? You do those things together and make it memorable. Because life's short, man.
Sure is.
So that's just one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
is, you know, family, friends, close friends, experiences it's massive.
Yeah, and sometimes you just let life get the better of you and you forget about that. And
Exactly.
You just let time kind of go past and you're like, shit, 3 years have passed and I haven't even caught up with like a good
Yeah,
friend or
that's
something
exactly
like that.
right.
Or like a cousin you haven't seen in so long. So it's definitely really good to keep those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What's important for you to keep family close?
Look, it's part of my DNA. You know, like my family's my family.
Yeah.
Like I put my family in the center of everything that I do. I don't care what sort of gets in the way. But I guess it's because I've been able to have that time, that special time with my dad, that really makes me want that even more. Because I want to be close to my brother. I want to be close to my mum. I want to have a good relationship with you. And you know, so I have my own aspirations and dreams, right? And I know my dad's worked very hard to get us in this situation. Everything that I have today and what you have today is because of our parents. And I think
100%.
that's one of the things that people have to remember every day. You know, like we have been given an opportunity to love one another and to be kind to one another, and it should always be part of our DNA. It should always be something that we encourage and we open ourselves up to that vulnerability and to love more.
Yeah, no, that's
I think
really,
that's important.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think the issue nowadays is no one communicates.
I agree.
Yeah,
Everyone's-
it's all the digital world too. It's harder.
Yeah.
Like, people struggle to communicate.
Yeah,
You know.
with times now, everything's all electronic. So there's a lacking of face-to-face,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, conversation, that sort of stuff. And a lot of people aren't open to communicate, to talk, especially on a deeper level. I think challenging yourself to talk on a deeper level, you learn so much shit. Like things, like I wouldn't have learned about dad if I didn't go and talk to like
Ask other people.
or their parents, and then they come to me telling me about dad. Like I wouldn't know any of that if I didn't actually go out there and make that effort. So communication is a second thing. You know what I mean? Like it's really important to open your mouth and talk.
Yeah, and have that curiosity, wanting to get to know someone more too.
Yeah. 100%.
Was there any questions you wanted to ask?
For me, it's more I can see the struggles that my sister went through because it was a big change for her, because that was your pinnacle point in life, because you're like mid-20s at the time. So obviously me going through that mid-20s and early 30s or whatever, that's where career path and family for yourself individually is definitely a huge thing. So I can understand like how much shit that was going through your side when everything was happening. And I always look back, I always reflect and go, fuck man, I wish that I was more mature.
It's kind of hard. You have such a massive age gap too.
I was just gonna say.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like age is obviously going to dictate your maturity level, but I wish like I was a bit more switched on, because then I could have had conversations with yourself, or I could have had conversations with dad. You know what I mean? Like in that moment in life to have that. I think that's what I wish I did.
Yeah, I think it's hard, but as long as you've actually had those conversations and you're always like chatting to each other, I think that's more important than whether or not you had like deep conversations and stuff, because you still had the time with your dad and still chat to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean like to actually sit there and know firsthand where he experienced stuff.
Hear the stories.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my things that I wish that I had. And that's why I always make it really important to still talk to mum.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I like to pick mum's brain to see what she thinks.
And give her shit.
And give her shit as well. But, you know, she gives me shit too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just these kind of moments, it's you got to cherish them.
You do.
That's why I really like it as well. That's another thing, is just seeing how close you are to your mum. And I've never had the way that your kind of relationship where you actually talk and joke around and, you know, give each other shit, and your mom like gives you shit and stuff like that. I don't have that kind of relationship. Oh, yeah. And it's always like a mother-daughter or like father-daughter
like
kind
authority.
It's always just been like that. And even if you wanted to open up, it's really hard. Like in my family, it's hard to open up because it's always just, I don't know, it's just not something where it can get into a deep conversation. It's always just like, and then you're like, cool, good chat. Thanks.
And look, I didn't have the kind of relationship with mum now. Yeah. Like I remember fucking when I was 18, 19, whatever it is, I would feel awkward talking to mum. You know what I mean? Like it's, you have the understanding that mum is mum. She looks after you, that sort of shit. Yeah. And you wouldn't really think about having conversations with her, especially when it comes to more personal stuff.
Yeah. And I think you did say that she was a little bit more like a tiger mum back then as opposed to
Fuck
now.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
She used to be a fucking,
But he was a big shit though. He was so bad.
She needed to be.
Well, yeah. And to see mum change as well is...
Yeah, mum's changed a
lot.
She's
changed so much,
She's
man.
so confident now compared to what she was before. And she's just so much stronger. I think just to add to what you were saying, bro, is that I felt very bad when I married my husband.
Why?
Because I was leaving my brother behind.
Yeah.
And I felt that the closeness that we had drifted away a little bit because, you know, everyone was just saying, oh, you've got your own life now. You're going with your husband. You're going to create your own life. And then I felt like I was abandoning him. So I felt really, really bad about that because my brother was my life. Like everywhere I go, he'd come with me. We'd go to movies, I'd take him with me. Go to Carindale, we'd go together. You know, we did everything together, right?
Yeah. Well, he did say that he used to always, like, you always talk to him and
talk about
when
you were 18.
Yeah, when I was going through my stuff. Yeah. My brother was like my rock.
That's good.
You know, so it was a very big transition for me because I had to go through that, getting married, having children, not really being in, I guess, control of the situation.
Yeah.
So I've always had this regret with my brother because I kind of felt like he's now alone and he's had to sort of pick himself up and you know, sort of discover himself.
Yeah.
Who he really is, which, you know, he's a great person now. I'm so proud of where he's sort of gotten to. And all I could really say is that, you know, throughout all these experiences, we still can push things to a side and still be able to talk.
Yeah, that's really,
you know,
really
call
good.
each other out on bullshit and, you know, give each other shit, and we laugh until we're like almost peeing our pants, you know, like, and that's the kind of relationship that we want and we need.
Yeah.
Because that's what life can get serious, but life can also be fun at the same time.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, from me, I hear a lot of people saying, like, age gap can usually create conflict because you don't understand, you know, someone is younger. And you guys have an age gap. I have an age gap with my siblings too, but I see it like you guys. I've never saw the age gap or thought of an age gap as a thing, and I've always just, you know, my siblings are my siblings. I still treat them all the same. So I wanted to see how you felt about that. Like, did you ever see that age gap as a problem or some sort of...
I never had an age gap problem with my brother except for when I married my husband. I've really felt that, like he even said before, he was very mature at the time. There was a lot of things he just didn't understand. And I was at a different point in my life too, right? So that's probably the life stage that I really struggled with.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to take my brother everywhere. I wanted him to go... you know, with me, no matter where I go. So, but I knew the reality of it is I couldn't.
Yeah, and he needs to grow.
And he needed to grow on his own. And I felt bad. I really did. I felt bad for him because he was just so young at the time.
But that was like the only challenge.
That was the only time. That was the only time I personally felt that challenge. Amongst all of it, like even growing up, no problems. You know, I was only 12 and mum threw this, you know, 6-month baby at me. I was just like, you know, so I loved it.
That's good.
You know, like my school holidays was just all about my brother and, you know, entertaining him and, you know, making sure he's okay and growing up and creating a lot of, you know, banter between us as well. We really grew very, very close. And it was just obviously, you know, when I got married and had my own children, that's when we sort of drifted apart a little bit, but that was a life stage.
What about you? Did you feel the age gap or were you just happy to like follow along?
Oh, look, I didn't feel the age gap, to be honest. I think, as my sister said earlier on, having her talk to me and be her rock in some regard, that forced me to mature in the earlier stages because I didn't understand the shit that she was going through. So, and it was an eye-opener for me because obviously you were a teen, like 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it forced me to understand what females had to deal with and
like
go through.
Boy problems,
Yeah,
girlfriend problems.
Yeah, and that's why like I was very empathetic earlier on to females because I understand the shit that my sister went through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like you
and then
got
like
your thing.
this little like 5-year-old giving advice.
Well, yeah, like in the earlier like years, definitely because I was always hanging around my sister and then her friends and shit like that. So it didn't feel like I was 9 years younger than everyone else. I was just chilling, whatever. Yeah. But then, in terms of like fast forwarding to when you got married and that sort of shit. Yeah, I mean, look, that was just a stage in life.
Yeah.
Did you feel that struggle or were you just going with the flow? Like, you're okay?
Look, like I said all the time, I was immature as fuck, man. Like, dude, I cannot like emphasize how fucked I was. You know what I mean? That was a pinnacle point for me too because I hung around people. I hung around bad people. I had a choice to do something and it was just luckily my vent was cars. If it wasn't for cars, I don't think I'd be here. Like, to be 100% honest.
Yep.
because I would be in gangbang, I would have been fucking in jail, been killing people. Like I just got like around bad people. And at the same time, there was like all dad stuff happening.
Yeah.
So it was unknown territory for me too. So did I feel the struggles of my sister? 100%. Because I did feel that we did drift apart, but I also feel that Tom as in your husband, was definitely someone that was your mediator.
Yeah.
And I think if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have made you realize to come back to reality in some regard. So I think he definitely had a massive play to, I guess, that timeline.
Because we're both hotheads.
Well, it seems like he also, like from what I hear, he also did include you a lot too, and like treated you as if you were like a younger brother as well. So
yeah, and that's one of the biggest things, like touching back at earlier what you were talking about, like him coming part of the family. Like that was a huge thing that I noticed, because I've seen him when you guys were dating and that sort of stuff.
Where you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
100%. He used to give me shit all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, seeing where Tom has grown as well, and him transitioning from his family to like our kind of family style, a huge difference.
His family was very, very similar to yours. Yeah.
Maybe it's a honky thing.
Maybe.
Yeah. So seeing Tom come from that point to like what we are now, like it's a huge eye opener for me. And even sometimes like I sit there and go, fuck, if it wasn't for Tom, because he's so level headed.
He is so calm.
He's very like chill,
very patient.
And he'll look at things like, okay, well, what's this situation or what's that situation? Let's put it together and sort of work it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had conversations with him multiple times where he would talk to me on that. And I'm like, fuck, man, like, I really appreciate Tom.
Yeah, that's really good.
Genuinely.
To have someone like that as well to help guide you, even, you know, as family.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
really,
dude.
really good.
Yeah, and especially, like, as my sister said, we're both fucking hot-headed.
Yeah, we are.
We can fire up from 0 to 1,000, like,
I
easily,
can agree
man.
to that.
Yep.
So to have someone a part of, I guess, your life to be level-headed is huge, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's really beautiful. I really like this chat, and thank you both for your time about family talk. And remember, for everyone out there, keep your family close. That includes all your close family and all your close friends as well.
Yeah, and further to that, talk to your friends, like your close friends and your family, man, because family is not just your brother, your sister, your mother, or your father. Like, they could be your best friends, man. It's just
Sounds like that Casey and JoJo song.
Are you gonna sing that now?
No, you're the songwriter.
No,
you can sing.
No.
All right, we'll leave it at that, and thank you again
Thank
for your
you.
time. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you so much. If you have reached to the end, we really appreciate you for tuning in. And if you'd like what you hear, please share it with your friends or family and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you are listening to.
Make sure you share any topics you'd like us to cover or questions you might have to our Instagram.
Slide it into our DMs.
Bigger. You can also stay in the loop of all the behind the scenes and the release of our new episodes there too. Our Instagram is Ask the Duo Podcast. That's AskTheDuopodcast. Man, feels like I'm in a spelling bee competition right now. Alright, that's it for now, and we'll see you back here for our next episode. Bye!
See ya!